Hey YouTubers, it's Aaron here, and here today with another video about an update on the A5. I have done a few things recently to change and alter the gun's performance, and which has greatly improved the performance of the gun. And we're going to get on to that today. I also went out and bought a couple of upgrades lately that I just kind of seemed to have like a little bit of a hunch that I needed. That'll kind of help the performance a bit more, and it helps break a lot less paint and yada yada, right? And yes, I did have a few paintball breakages lately, but it's just probably just because I was using old shit Redemption Pro paint from Vulcan, right? Like, it's 2 years old. It's probably why, but anyways, let's get to it. So here is the A5 that I have worked on. So as you can see, remember in our first video, I talked about the barrel. So this is my 3-piece shift barrel. It's made by MacDev. It has a various amount of sizes I have on standby. So it ranges from, I think it was 681 all the way up to 693. So I am good for bore changes and bore sizes. So I'm in with a bore at any time. The change for the paint. That probably could be another problem. I didn't have the right bore match, inconsistent paint sizes, etc., etc. So I also did install the Palmer's Pursuit stabilizer, the regulator for the A5. So I did go out and buy the kit. They still make them. They still have them. Pick one up. They are very, very good. But just a piece of advice when you get it: take it apart, take all the O-rings out of it, replace all the O-rings, and re-clean it, grease it, put it back together, and you will have a really, really good working A5. Very consistent over the chronograph. There is quite a bit of a setup for this, and I will get into that. So before you even go and put this regulator on and set it up, you are going to have to chronograph your gun with the original line at about 325 feet per second. Now, by doing that, what you're doing is you're bypassing the velocity adjuster on the side of the gun in order for this to do its job. So what you wanted to do is you want to set this velocity adjuster, your stock velocity adjuster, at 325, and this regulator comes stock out of the factory at 500 psi. So you're going to want to turn it up until you are shooting the exact same feet per second. Okay, so you want to turn it back up to 325 feet per second, and then use this velocity adjuster here to turn it back down to where you want it. So you'd be able to dial it in. And ever since then, like, my chrono readings have been ±4, and that's really good for a Tippmann, considering I'm shooting 1 star. Like that, there's not very much more I can say about it. Like, it's been a really good reg for this gun. Like, it's amazing. We're still semi-auto, but you know, that's okay. We're going to be getting into that later, because I have a big game coming up in, I think it's April or May, and I'm going to want to have the e-grip by then. So I think in the next few weeks I'm going to order the e-grip, and we're going to have that installed, and we're going to go a little bit more on that. Other than that, I really haven't had too much issues with this gun. Like, it's been a really good gun, especially for, like I said, a Tippmann A5. Like, you cannot go wrong with these. If you're just starting out, these are the gun to go towards, right? With a few minor upgrades, you're gonna have a really good time. Out of the box, they're great out of the box, but eventually you're gonna want to start looking into some upgrades. And one of the first, like I said before, one of the first upgrades you're probably gonna want to look into is the barrel, because the stock 8.5-inch barrel that it comes with is great. It's fine, but like I said, if you want to get more accurate shots, long distance shots, you may want to get a bigger barrel. So this is like a standard 14. So yeah, so barrel's your preference. I also, like I said, I got the a LAPCO adapter for autococker, so I can stick any autococker barrel on this gun that I want, and it works just fine. Alright, so enough of that. Oh yeah, the pressure set to this gun is just under, right now, just under 600s. I think about 580, 600 psi for a Tippmann A5. And most people are saying that the operating pressure of this gun is around 750, 800. But if that's the case, then I drop this significantly. So I'm kind of saving air, and so it's kind of air efficient right now as it is. But with the upgrades I bought, we're gonna hopefully drop the pressures a little bit more and get a little bit more air efficiency out of it. So, and here's the upgrades I bought. The Tech Squishy Paddles DS Plus. Okay, so you want to get these ones. Okay, so they have a bunch of different packages out there. They got the originals, and then they got these ones. Always go out and buy the most current. Don't go out and buy the originals, because the originals, they don't offer anything except for the originals. Okay, so what I mean by the originals is, let's open this, I'll show you actually. With the DS Plus package, I'll put that aside, I'll talk about that in a second. You got 3 different paddles here. Okay, so you got your typical bottom, and you got 2 tops. Okay, so this is your bottom, and these are your 2 tops, and this is the original that I was talking about. So these are the originals you can go out and buy. It only comes with just these 2, but go out and buy, spend the extra couple dollars, get the other one, get the one with the 2 extra tops, because these 2 paddles have 2 different jobs. They perform 2 different things, and they work differently. So this one here, which is the original, okay, so these actually, they only go on one way, so it's pretty simple. Just line them up and just put them together like this. Oh, there we go. So this here, this setup would technically be for high speed runs. Okay, so if you're having a rapid rate of fire, so you probably want to use these ones. Or you could take this top off, or you could use the other top. The other top has a different, it performs a completely different job. And what I mean by that is, this top, seeing it's a lot thicker than the original. Okay, so this one here reduces the amount of popcorning effect in your hopper. And honestly, that's a big problem in the A5s and the X7s. Every time you shoot, your paint's just going to jump around and bounce around down in there in your hopper and your Cyclone, and most likely with the stock paddles, it's going to crack each of the paintballs before it goes into the breech. And when you go to fire your gun, it's going to be like a big down the barrel. Okay, so you're cracking your paint before you even get to shoot it, and that's not cool. And you're going to have more downtime, and you're going to wonder why you're going to be doing that. So I think this is the way I'm going to go. I'm not exactly going to be going for any high-speed shooting, because at the most I'm going to be shooting maybe 12 balls a second. Any more than that's just retarded. It's just a big waste of paint, and considering paint's getting expensive these days, you're looking at 70, 80 bucks a case, especially up here in Canada, depending on what the brand is. Like, and this setup here will actually save and reduce the amount of paint breakage in your Cyclone. So, like I said, this reduces the popcorning effect, and this setup here is for your high rapid rates of fire. Okay, that's what that's for. And also comes with a nice little Teflon washer that goes at the bottom, and it just helps your Cyclone move a little bit faster, a little bit quicker. So that is it for the squishy paddles. So they are super soft. They are really, really nice. So we're going to install these in a minute. We'll get into that. I'll do a little video on that. Okay. So the next upgrade I went out and bought was the Tech QEPH. The Tech QEPH is important. Okay. It helps your Cyclone exhaust the air much quicker, and once again allows you to have a more rapid rate of fire, and it helps your Cyclone work a lot more efficiently. This design's a lot different. I'll show you. Since the last time I bought the QEPH, it did not even come with half the stuff that it comes with today. So here's your housing. Okay, so now you can see you have two seats, two bevels here, and in between there you got your little grooves. Okay, so you got your grooves in there, and it comes with a bunch of O-rings. The O-rings aren't for your piston or your lightning rod. These O-rings actually go all in between these two seats, these two bevels here. So what they do is, these are considered debris blockers. So if you're in extreme conditions where it's muddy, it's dirty, it's raining, these O-rings will keep all the dirt, all the rain, and all the shit out of your Cyclone, and it keeps it running all day nice and perfectly, so you don't have to have any headaches or any downtime during the day. You can just keep going and keep playing and have a good time. So this is going to be, I think, a game changer for me. Yeah, I didn't actually go out and spend the money on the Vortex mod and the lightning rod and all that kind of shit. It's honestly, with the new ratchets that Tippmann has in these Cyclones, is really good. Apparently a little while ago they had a ratchet that didn't break much. I think over time it just wore out, and then they tried to do like a little bit of a budget saving thing and went to a ratchet that broke, and then realized that, oh, okay, alright, a lot of people are calling in, they need new ratchets, and then they're breaking a lot, so we'll go back to the ratchets that didn't break. So in summary, they had ratchets that didn't break, they went to ratchets that did break, and now they went back to the ratchets that didn't break. So over time you're probably going to have to replace it. That's if you use your gun all the time. I don't use this gun all the time. I only use it for like big game scenario, whatever. I'm typically a speedballer, so I don't really use the A5 too much. But yeah, so I only decided to go out and buy a minimal amount of upgrades and try to see what I could get away with and what I can't get away with. And I'm pretty sure just buying the QEPH and the squishy paddles, I will be able to get away with just that. And last but not least was the Zero Kit Camera SE. Now this upgrade is a very interesting upgrade. This is a very big change from the last time my buddy had bought this. He had bought the original the hammer that came from Tech. And this is the Zero Kit Camera SE. He bought just the original Zero Kit Camera. Okay. What they have here is a nicely polished, a very nicely polished hammer, and it is about half the weight of the original stock hammer. So this is really nice. It even comes with like a little nipple at the top, so it doesn't indent, it doesn't dent or scratch the top, right? It's really hardened steel, so it is better than the actual stock hammers. Now the difference between this hammer and the original Zero Kit Camera was this little plastic piece, the insert here, okay, goes on the inside. That's your insert. This insert here comes with a little weight. It adds just a little bit more weight to kind of give that little extra momentum to hit that pin in the valve, and it helps you bring your gun up to the velocities that you should be shooting. Because I remember a long time ago, my buddy went out and bought the Zero Kit Camera, the original Zero Kit Camera, and put it in his X7, and he also made the switch to compressed air, and he wasn't able to shoot anything over 220 feet per second. But his gun was absolutely flying, and it was absolutely smooth. He was able to shoot 23, 25 balls a second, no problem. But the paint wasn't going very far. The only trick to his gameplay was he had to be very close to the guy to get him, and that could be either good or bad. So yeah, comes with your little, like I said, plastic insert, your spare weight. So instead of going out and buying the original Zero Kit Camera, buy the SE. That's why I'm saying buy the new upgraded, updated parts, because these are a lot better. And like I said, this will bring, if you're having that problem where you can't shoot over a certain velocity and it's very low, like 220 feet per second, in my buddy's case, buy the SE kit, because that SE kit will help you out in the long run and will bring your velocities back up to where they should be. Okay, and it also comes with a nice little new drive spring. Okay, so if your Zero Kit Camera did not come with a drive spring, call them immediately and they will hook you up with one. because without this drive spring, your zero kick hammer will not work properly. Okay, so this spring is rated for the hammer. Use the one that came with it, not your stock one. So it also came with like a little spares bag, and pretty interesting. In the spares bag, it came with an O-ring and looks like two little trigger strings. Okay, so you got a light one and you got a hard one. So you're able to have a light pull or a really stiff pull. Kind of strange coming with a hammer. Like you think that would come with a trigger, but they come with the hammer. That's pretty cool. So very thoughtful. We're not gonna put this in right away because I'm gonna make another video about this on another day. I would do it today, but it is shitty out right now. It is raining out, so I will not be taking the gun out today to chrono. But what I want to do with this hammer is I want to chrono in with the original stock hammer to show you guys what the velocities are at. And once we switch this out, we're going to see whether it's a positive gain or a negative on the velocity. Okay, and then whether we can upper or lower our pressures on the reg. And I have a really good feeling we're going to be lowering the pressures of our reg quite a bit. So, Tech Zero Kick Hammer SE, get one, well worth the money. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is we're only going to do the Cyclone. So I'm going to install the QEPH. So I'm going to do a quick video on that. And we're also going to install the squishy paddles, and I'm going to show you how that's done. It's very straightforward, like you guys probably should know that. But I'm just going to grab a couple of Allen keys, and I'll be just right with you. Okay, so another thing I picked up this morning, ran out. Got me some Tippmann marker oil. Okay, so this is some good stuff to use. It's proprietary to these guns, so they're meant for them, and it's good to use. So let's get started, shall we? Let's start by removing the Cyclone. Alright, so we'll take the Cyclone screw out the side here. There we go, set that aside. We're also going to remove our little screws here from the side. Right back. Should have been a little bit more prepared before this video, but I didn't think about tools. But here we go. So we're just going to actually remove, we're not going to remove the banjo fitting that's attached to the gun. We're going to remove the banjo fitting that is attached to the Cyclone, because we are going to be changing the power tube, or the QEPH housing. And I'm going to show you a little something with this new QEPH, or the QEPH that's on here. So I'll set the gun aside. We're done with that for now. Okay, so the stock QEPH for the Tippmann A5s, okay, they come with these little pinholes on them, right? So I've kind of had a little bit of an issue recently, right, with the Cyclone overcycling. So I'm guessing what the problem is that the Cyclone's receiving way too much pressure and it isn't able to exhaust it as fast as it should, or as much as it should, I should say. So every time your Cyclone cycles, it should pretty much stop at this position here. Okay, but that wasn't the case. It was stopping sort of, well, I'm trying to get it to do it to mimic it, but it's not really doing it right now. But it was kind of stopping sort of like that. It would leave the breech wide open, so it would almost try to feed two paintballs at a time. So, or allow the paintball that's in the breech to kind of sort of roll out, and as soon as you go to fire the gun, it would chop. And that's the one main problem I had with the Cyclone. So hopefully now with the QEPH that I bought, that's going to fix that problem. So let's go ahead and start removing the screws at the bottom here of the Cyclone. Okay. Another thing is too, if you notice at the bottom of your plate, notice at the bottom of your Cyclone plate, there's like a little code. Okay, so it should be right here. Okay, if you have an A, right now the current revision on these bottom plates are A1. If you have a bottom plate that does not say A1, call Tippmann and get a plate that says A1, okay, because that is the new updated plate. That means that your Cyclone is not up to current code, or well, not code, but ain't up to current revision. They did do some small little tweaks to these things, and these actually are technically the same Cyclone that's on the Phenom, because they same paddles, same everything, right? But the only difference is the hose. So we'll take these screws out, we'll just set them aside. So we'll get the plate off, we'll get the QPH in. In my case, I don't know if I'm going to be putting those O-rings on, the breed guards, but hey, why not, right? I think I might just do it anyways, just for the sake of showing you guys that, hey, that's what they're for, and that's what you use it for, and they're not O-rings for your lightning rod. Don't change out that. You need the cup instead of the O-ring, okay? So I know Tech-T doesn't really have instructions in the packages, which they kind of should, because I had to look up a few things, but that's fine. Pretty straightforward though. Okay, so now you got your bottom plate off. All you want to do, just want to kind of lift up, and pull back. There you go. So now that you've done that, grab your little your shaft here and twist off the little end, not the push button, the knob. Okay, that comes right off. Okay, and then your piston shaft should just fall right out of the housing there. There we go. So there's your housing. Every once in a while you're going to want to make sure that this O-ring is in good condition. If it is cracked, it's dry and crusty, you're going to have some Cyclone issues. So best thing to do is make sure you replace this every once in a while. I just replaced this one recently, as well as I had a couple of O-rings missing in the banjo fittings, and that was another problem. This is when I first got the gun though. So make sure the inside of your piston housing is clean at all times, free of debris. And if you can do all that, that's like half the battle. So we'll take this QEPH, set that aside. We'll take our new one and our nice O-rings, and we'll put them on before we install. Okay, so we'll take all of our little O-rings here. I don't think you're going to need all of them, but I think there's some replacements. So we're going to install what it can fit. Okay. Alright, so yeah, just start sliding them on, one at a time. You don't need to grease them, don't need to do anything to them, just put them on dry. Alright, and should be fine. There's two. And 3, 4. So yeah, okay, we're probably gonna need them all. Slippery fucking suckers. A5. This is actually a pretty good idea. Like I'm actually quite impressed that they actually thought about that. That's been a really big problem in the past for some people, and a lot of dirt and debris did get into their porting, because the porting being as big as it is, you know, like I could see that, you know, even blades of grass could probably get in there and fuck your day up. Okay, so there you go. So that's what that should look like. Okay, see that? And that's the debris blockers. So you're gonna have one spare O-ring. Whoopty. So I'll just take that, put that back in the package, set it aside. Okay, so now before you install this, want to make sure once again that the cup seal is put on the right way. So the cup should be flared like kind of outwards, just like this one is. I don't know if you can see that, but it kind of like, if you're pointing down like this, it should be kind of outwards like a skirt. Okay, so if it's like that, it's on right. If it's upside down, it's backwards. You gotta change that. So keep this clean, oiled. Make sure it's free of cracks, any debris, dirt, anything like that. Okay. But before we go ahead and install this, let's just take a little drop of our Tippmann oil and put that in there. There we go. It's got a little piece of tin foil in there still. Didn't see that. Let's get that out of there. There we go. There we go. So we'll put a little bit of oil inside the piston housing. You don't want too much in there. You don't want to drown it. So that's it. Set that aside. I'll slide this on. Okay, so what you want to do is you kind of want to grab this little sleeve here. Well, as you put it on, what you want to do is you kind of want to grab it. All right, pull it back, and then drop it in. There you go. So pull it back, slide it forward, drop it in, and that is it for that. And make sure everything else in your Cyclone is pretty good and oiled. So like I said, the internals of this Cyclone are very, very good. So like I said, the ratchet's almost in perfect mint condition shape, and it's been used. So, but I've maintained it quite a bit. So that is it for the QEPH. So you'll be able to put your bottom plate back on. Snaps right in place. Put your screws back in, and there you go. But that's how you install that. Okay. So let's take that right back off, and let's put our little push rod back in. So, and the push rod here should still fit. Okay. So like I said, make sure it's clean before you put it in. Just drop it in. You may want to use a tool to kind of push that back through. There we go. Pull it through. Grab your knob at the that goes at the back. Screw it back on. Okay. There you go. Moves freely, works really good. So there we go. And once again, grab your sleeve, pull it back, slide it forward, and alright. Slide it forward, push it down until you hear that little click. Alright, and put your bottom plate back on. That's it, done. So now we can put our screws back in. Your QEPH has been installed. So next what we're going to do is we're going to do our squishy paddles. And that's pretty straightforward. Like, that's very, very simple to do.
See your phone for a second.
Whatever you do, don't tighten them in all the way. Only tighten them down until you feel resistance. Because there is a such thing as too tight and too loose. Too loose, you'll have your Cyclone kind of overspinning, overcycling. If it's too tight, it won't cycle at all. So like I said, just when you screw them in till the screw stops and you feel resistance. That's it. No more, no less. Probably easier with a power, like a hand power tool, than a screwdriver, but you know, hey. Okay, so there we go. Should give that one a little bit extra. Give this an extra turn. Okay, so you don't, like I said, don't be a brute and really reef them down. Just screw them in until you feel resistance and they stop on their own. Don't over tighten them, and don't under tighten them, I should say. Okay. All right, so there you go. So yeah, cycle it, make sure it works. Works just fine. So there we go. Now next, let's get into our squishy paddles. So all you got to do, grab your screwdriver. We'll take the screw out of the center of the Cyclone, and then we'll just undo that, and then we'll install our current style squishy paddles. So now you don't have to install the exact same paddles that I'm installing. If you're the type of guy that wants to shoot 25, 26 balls a second, then you're gonna want the smaller paddles. Okay, so these are the stock paddles. You'll find these in the Phenom as well. Okay, so these are really good paddles, but these things are really fucking hard. Like these, I could see why these break paint, especially in an A5. So let's take our new paddles that we're going to be putting in. So this is our new setup, and like I said, they only go on one way. They have your little looks like teeth down here, okay, and they go into the bottom of this. Make sure that they line up with the pattern, okay. Otherwise, you won't be able to solder them on. Very simple, very straightforward, okay. And don't forget that little white washer that goes in at the bottom. That's to help your Cyclone feed a little bit smoother. Okay, so this little Teflon O-ring here, okay, just goes in like this, right at the bottom. Okay, goes on just like that, and then your paddles go in. Alright, you may want to put these in one at a time. These are like really, they're not stiff, they're just kind of, they're new. So this is their first installation, so here we go. Put that slide on. There we go. Very nice. Okay, and then we'll take our screw, put that back in. And now that we've done that, we can just reinstall the, we don't need that. We can now just reinstall the Cyclone onto your gun, and that's pretty much it for the Cyclone upgrades. Okay, just turn it in until the screw's snug, and there you go. You have just successfully installed the QEPH and your new squishy paddles. So we can now put this back on the gun. Okay. One thing you want to do before you put this on, make sure that that O-ring is still in your banjo fitting. If it ain't there, you're going to have an air leak on your Cyclone and it's not going to work right. Okay? So, let's line that up. Screw that back in. Son of a bitch. So you kind of want to, as you do this, kind of want to hold it in place. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass to put these on, but that's just typically how they are. Put them in straight. You don't want to cross thread. Alright, there we go. Like I said about the over tightening, don't over tighten it because you don't want to strip out your threads and further damage your shit. So we'll put that screw back into the side of this Cyclone and tighten it down. Alright, there we go. Completely installed, ready to go. So like I said, the current setup I put in here is for reducing the amount of popcorning effect in your Cyclone. The other setup you could put in is for rapid rates of fire, but in my case I'm not doing rapid rates of fire. I'm at the most going to be doing 12 balls a second, maybe 13, I don't, who knows, but that's it. For those of you that want to go 20, 15 or more, right, you want to put the other setup in. The thinner, the shorter setup. This is the taller setup, so it's all about preference, so it's up to you what you want to do. Yeah, that's about it. So that pretty much wraps up to the video today that I have. So this is the current setup of the A5 that I've got so far. I don't think I'm going to look into a buttstock. I did have my eyes on an MP5 sliding buttstock, but apparently they don't make them anymore for any A5s. There's not one available out there anywhere, so I'm gonna just forget about it. So the next video I make is going to be the installation of the zero kit camera and the chrono tests. We'll get into that another day. Right now we're just finishing up our winter here in Canada. We're getting our rainy periods now, so 8 months of winter versus 3 months of summer. 1 month of rainy shit is what we get for spring. Yeah, so stay tuned. There's going to be more videos coming up, and I'll actually show you guys how this thing shoots and how well it performs. Now that we've installed all of our good upgrades, things are going to be looking up on this gun. So yeah, so follow these steps. You'll have a pretty functional, very, very nice working A5, and you shouldn't have a problem at all. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, any comments, put them in the comments below. Comment, like, subscribe. Have a good day, guys.